Hello and welcome to the In a Nutshell podcast with myself, Andrew Davis, and my co-host, Chris Branch. This is the 10-minute daily podcast where we take out all of the techie talk around generative AI and focus on what the everyday person, content creator, and marketer wants to hear. Now, we've only got 10 minutes, so we can only focus on one particular subject. And today, we're going to talk about our fourth prediction of the year. But we're not going to go into a particular area. So far, we've spoke about video generation is going to be big in 2024. We've talked about the big guys, they're really going to have an impact and a role on everything in generative AI. So the likes of Apple and Google and Meta, they're going to have more of a control in this particular space. And we've also talked about AI influencers. But what we're going to do today is we're just going to summarize some of the other things that we feel is going to play a very, very big role when it comes to AI or generative AI in 2024. So Chris, what area do you think, again, just really quick, some of the areas that you think is going to play a big role this year?
Yeah, so rapid fire. Obviously, we've got politics this year, so I feel like there's going to be a lot of AI in politics. Unfortunately, that's going to be the case. Americans, you're going to see this a lot more than us, but we have an election here in the UK as well, so no doubt it will take part in our daily lives. And I know one of the other things that's going to be huge, and hopefully this is for the better, but it's also going to be a bit worrisome, is healthcare. So we saw a lot of innovations in 2023 in healthcare, but the more data they start getting on you, you mentioned before this in the green room about insurance, and that potentially is a thing that people might have to worry about, is not being allowed to get insurance because of massive amounts of data being stored on them on their healthcare.
Yeah, I think that. So if we just quickly go back to the elections, I think this is going to be a huge impact.
Yeah.
AI, as we've said before, this is 2024 is going to be the AI elections. Obviously, it's going to be big in America, in the UK. I think it's going to be towards the end of the year now. I think it was announced recently. So generative AI play a big part there. Going back to healthcare, I think what you're going to see this year possibly is the beginning of the year, especially some really cool things that's happening. But again, towards the end of the year, you're going to start seeing some of the unfortunately some of the shady areas of it. Another area that I think is going to be big this year is going to be search. If you look at search over the last 10, 15, 20 years, SEO, search engine optimization, was really about how you can, or what makes things go up and down in Google, and how you can manipulate, let's use the right word, manipulate the search engines to get to the top of a particular search. And that would be based on many factors, but the main ones would be keywords and links back to your website, as well as the technical side of things that happens on your website. However, the way we search now, I don't know about you, but now when I try to find something out, because of what happened last year in ChatGPT especially, I'm almost typing prompts.
Yeah, right.
And I think that's going to be key. So anyone listening, if you want to research SGE, which is going to be, I think, will eventually not replace SEO, but it's going to have a big impact on SEO. SGE stands for Search Generative Experience. And that essentially is what search is going to be about. It's the prompt. You're going to see Google as well, and you're seeing it in Bing now. You're going to see Google, whether it be Gemini or whatever model that they use, and you're going to see your search results change as well using AI or prompts. And I think that's going to have a big thing this year.
Well, I would definitely, take your advice on that, because I'm not an SEO expert, but in my consumer based research that I've just been experiencing through Google over the past few years, it was going that way anyway through this click search, zero clicks, where inside the Google search itself, instead of you clicking a link, it would have the answer or a little they called it rich snippets at one point.
People also wants to know this.
I thought that about AI. It's kind of like the rich snippets 2.0, isn't it?
Yeah,
it really is. So
then the question is how important is your website going to be? So that's going to be, or as the function of the website change. But let's leave that to another episode, because we can go into more detail and kind of technical on how to change that. Another thing that I think is going to be interesting is gaming. Now, when it comes to AI gaming, I think 2025 is going to be the year of where it's
Mm.
going to really have an impact. So I actually think AI gaming is going to be a prediction for this year, but also
Mhm.
next year. And the reason why I say next year is because Grand Theft Auto 6 is coming out in
Mm.
2025. And I believe that when it comes to the games, we're starting to see it already where you can create like in the open world, you can start speaking and to like different game characters. And
Mhm.
I think that GTA 6 will be the one that will make it mainstream. I think this year you'll be
ChatGPT in
able to
every
do it.
character. Oh my god.
Yeah. I think
It
this year
will.
you'll see some games that will be able to do that with some of the technology, but I think GTA 6, because it's going to be such a big game, I think that's
Mm.
where you're going to really kind of see it.
So this is a bit, I know we're in the news. I want to do it quickly, but listening to a podcast last night, they said that version 6 of Midjourney passed what's called the uncanny valley, which
Mm.
is a really interesting term that people started to use, where you no longer can tell that it's not really a selfie. It's not really a person. When gaming has that uncanny valley moment where every single character has ChatGPT and is really like talking to something new every time, that's going to be like black and white TV to color. And I think every
Yeah.
other game after that's going to have to compete at that level, or it just won't be as immersive. So
Yeah.
yeah, I can totally see the gaming being completely changed whenever that uncanny valley is reached.
But did
Yeah,
you also hear what happened with Midjourney? So Midjourney said that by the end of the year they'll be able to create like 3D like
characters. Yeah,
characters, which I think will. So when it's still on
game
gaming, I think
changer.
people will be able to create their own games as well.
Right, right,
I'm not
right,
saying they'll
right.
be good games, but I think people will create their own games. And I think
Mm.
just like with anything, there'll be a few good games, a lot of rubbish games, but there'll be a few good games, and I think that's going to be a big area as well.
Mm.
Um, Another area that I think will be really interesting is AI assistance. Now
Yes,
you
good
spoke
one.
about this. You spoke about this before in a podcast. So, what do you think is going to happen this year when it comes to AI assistance?
Well, OpenAI have specifically, started to go down this territory. So they're, working hard on making GPTs that are exclusive. So if you don't know what GPTs are, they're kind of like programmable mini versions of a chatbot that you can make yourself, tuned to a specific reason or thing. So assistants essentially are autonomous versions of these GPTs that act on their own. You don't give them a specific prompt and then have one response. You give them a big goal and then they make multiple prompts of their own and go away and do a task, a big generalized task. Now
Yeah,
that will be really different to all of the technology right now that's working with humans, because everything right now that's very valuable is for us. And
mm.
soon enough, there will just be autonomous agents that do these things on their own. And that will be a big shift in people's opinions on AI, I think.
Can you give us an example what you could typically do here?
Yeah, so you could imagine like in the company structure, you could have a social media agent, and therefore their responsibility would be to monitor all of the social media, draw reports on this, kind of like what an account manager would do in a social media marketing agency right now. A lot of the stuff, if it's systematizable and it's repeatable, it can just be done. Like
Mm.
you can just say, here's how we would do it once, and then train the model to continually do that task over and over again if it's
Yeah.
a repeating request. So
So
yeah, I
yeah,
could see stuff like that. And it's not to say that that person may lose their job. It's just that they would need to augment it in order to look after this tool that was doing the data collection, or something
yeah,
that was sort of boring anyway.
yeah. And I think that's a key thing is that people might not necessarily lose their job. It's just their job might change. But you're
Yeah,
going to have all these assistants that's going to essentially, if it's a like essentially they will go and do stuff for you, which is going to be
yeah.
really important. I think the last one to just quickly talk about as well is, and when I say quickly, literally just a couple of sentences, and that is, I think 2024 we're going to start seeing a lot more legal issues
Hmm.
and lawsuits, you know, and that's going to be a risk to all different like existing industries.
Hmm.
Um, you're seeing it right at the end of 2023 where I think it was the New York Times or a big
Yep.
organization sued OpenAI because of
Yep.
the information it's getting. So I can see more of that, like also towards the end of the year. Obviously, there was the writer's strike, but there was other things as well. I can see there being more legal suits, more grey area, and a
Hmm.
lot more confusion.
I
So
would be shocked if there wasn't.
yeah,
Let's put it that
exactly.
way.
So, in a nutshell, when you break down what our predictions are over this last week, we've talked about today AI assistance being important. We've talked about healthcare. We've talked about AI gaming is going to be big this year. We've
Hmm.
talked about the elections, definitely going to be one to watch, and we'll speak about in a lot more detail. AI in search, the legal amplifications as well, and basically morality from us
Hmm.
humans, as well as some of the other things we spoke about before. So,
Influencers, yeah.
yeah, influencers, like the video generation as
It's
well.
going to be one hell of a year.
It's going to be one hell of a year, and like we said, we're going to look back at these episodes, and we're going to see how correct or wrong were we.
Mm. And laugh, probably.
Yeah.